had been working on it. I had heard rumblings, but it became a real thing about 2 years ago, and I was so very happy. I loved voicing this character. I have been a part of that first movie since the first reading, which was probably about 12 or 13 years ago, and we did it up at Pixar. And Sarah was there too, and a lot of people who ended up being in the movie, and Jack as well, Jack McBrayer. And Jack, of course, plays Felix, who is my love, and we're blissfully in love. And then we make the mistake of adopting 5 little girls in this movie, and you'll get to see how great of a parent we are.
When did you get an inkling that Sonic would be making a return appearance?
When they called to book me on the gig, I had no idea. Somebody asked me recently, like, you know, were you just sitting there waiting? And I thought, man, how do you wait for lightning to strike twice? And really and truly getting to be a part of something as iconic as the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, let alone getting to go do that voice in a Disney film, not only once, but twice. Dream come true.
Here's a funny thing. The woman who plays Cinderella, she actually texted me and said, "Are you in Wreck-It Ralph 2? We're in Wreck-It Ralph 2. And I was like, no one told me I was in Wreck-It Ralph 2. So I called my agent and I was like, am I in Wreck-It Ralph 2? She's like, well, they called and we're working on that and I'll get back to you. Several months passed. I didn't even think about it. Then they called and they said, can you go to the session? And I was like, I didn't know this was happening. But clearly it did. It happened. We didn't record all together, so that's always a little bit of a drag, but you do what you can do.
Yeah, it's so special. I mean, one of the things you get to mix is like our internet versions of them, our modern take on them, like Hipster Ariel and all these things. Like, we identify with these princesses well past the years that the film came out as we grow and mature, and these ladies have grown and matured. And the idea that they could be away from their stories, away from their journeys, and just be friends hanging out backstage, supporting each other and loving each other, man, it's crazy cool.
Well, you know, Calhoun has commanded armies of men, and she's a tough cookie, and these girls just confound her, and they confound Felix as well. And, you know, our hearts are always in the right place, but they're spirited little girls. They're at that age. They're in cartoon land, so you never know how old they really are, but they're more like 7 or 8, and they are crazy and out there, and they certainly don't threaten our love. We stay blissfully in love. We're still calling each other by sweet little names. That was one of the most fun things to do, was to improvise different names to each other, like Cupcake Head, Sweet Toast. All of it had to do with food, but we just loved each other so much.
I've seen the trailer. I'm going to see this tonight, and I cannot wait. I'm almost reluctant to even see it tonight because I want to see it on November 21st with everybody else and get to tweet and enjoy it.
Well, when the directors came to me with the idea for this song for a place called Slaughter Race, I instantly fell in love with the idea of it and then desperately wanted to see that it come true. The trick of it was, when we make a musical, I pitch songwriters and then we hire those songwriters and then they write the songs for the movie. Or in the example of the Imagine Dragons, if we wanted to do an end credit song, I'll cut Imagine Dragons songs to the movie and see what feels right and then go from there. With this song, since it was so heavily dependent on the content of the song, but it was just an idea, I felt like, well, I can't really hire a songwriter yet. So Phil Johnson, the co-director, and I wrote the lyrics, and then just to prove out the idea, and then we brought Alan Menken on to write the best music in the world, and then the directors took a shine to that, and that's how it got into the movie.
Well, it has changed a bit in like the beginning and the end. We've had to do some adjustments so that it fits well in the story, but that run of like putting her through the ringer of questions to determine what kind of princess she is pretty much how it's always been. I don't know, I think it builds in such a way where every princess gets on board and there's more and more of them, like, oh, are you like this, are you like this, you're just like me, right? Which I think is how the internet feels. Like, you start with just one friend and then you have 10 friends and it's like, I like that too, and then all of a sudden you're like, I have 50 friends. We all like this one weird thing. And so because that really captured the spirit of the internet, I think that scene stays the same.
You know, the directors were really good about, or at least they were interested in, keeping at least the voice very true to, you know, its nature. So that was not a change. Maybe some of the reactions I had to do maybe felt slightly out of character the way it was looked on paper, but we made it just come from Princess Aurora, you know, so I didn't feel like I was a different character than I've done. I've been playing her about 6 or 7 years in different projects, and I think she's pretty just the same in all of them.
we had two objectives really. One, to make it fun and funny because it's a funny idea to have Vanellope singing a princess song, but then we also wanted it to speak to the emotional content of what those songs actually do in these movies, and to let Vanellope still have that moment as well. So I like to think the front of it's all sort of comedy and fun and acclamation to this crazy world, but then by the end you really feel for Vanellope and the dilemma that she has about whether if she's going to go home with Ralph or stay in this place that she's fallen in love with.
What I love about Rich and Phil is that they appreciate, and that's why the films are such a big hit. The heart of the film is so important, and the characters come from a real place and a truthful heart place, and that's why he loves having us together, because you know you can't really do that in an isolation booth. You have to be able to kind of interact with the other person, and they love that, and I'm glad they do, because I appreciate that as well.
So now I think we need a spin-off with you guys actually having whatever Calhoun and Felix's baby's going to look like.
I agree. I would love to see more of us, and maybe there will be a Wreck-It Ralph 3, and we'll get a nice big chunk of that one.